This is our project about heat transfer with conduction, convection, radiation. Our first example is conduction.
Our first example of conduction is an ice cube melting in my hand. My hand has a higher internal energy than the ice cube, and they are in physical contact, so thermal contact and conduction are present. The particles in my hand are moving at a faster speed than the particles in the ice cube. When the particles collide, they transfer their energy to the surrounding particles. So when my hand touches the ice cube, there is an energy transfer, and the particles in the ice cube start to move faster. This increase in speed raises the internal energy of the ice cube, thus raising the temperature and causing it to melt.
Our second example of conduction is a heating pad warming my arm. My arm has a lower internal energy than the heating pad, and they are in physical contact, so thermal contact and conduction are present. The particles in the heating pad are moving at a faster speed than the particles in my arm. When the particles collide, they transfer their energy to the surrounding particles. So when the heating pad touches my arm, there is an energy transfer, and the particles in my arm start to move faster. This increase in speed raises the internal energy of my arm, thus raising the temperature and causing it to warm.
Our first example of convection is boiling water for tea. Thermal contact is established between the water in the kettle and the stove because they already have physical contact. The stove has a higher internal energy, and the kettle and water have a lower internal energy. As the particles of water at the bottom of the kettle increase in speed, they become less dense than the water particles at the top of the kettle. Therefore, they rise while the denser particles at the top of the kettle sink to the bottom, where they will undergo the same process. This creates the circular motion we call convection.
Our second example of convection is milk in tea. Thermal contact exists between the tea and the milk because they also have physical contact. The tea has the higher internal energy and the milk has the lower internal energy. As the particles of tea at the bottom of as the milk gets poured in, it sinks because it is denser, but as it warms, it becomes less dense and rises. You can see it move through the tea.
Our first example of radiation is a light bulb emitting heat. The light bulb has a higher internal energy than its surroundings. In this case, thermal contact exists because the light bulb gives off heat waves. When I bring my hand closer to the light bulb, I can feel an increase in temperature because the heat waves transfer their energy to the particles in my hand, which speed up and therefore also increase in temperature.
Our second example of radiation is a flame on a match. The flame has the higher internal energy and is giving off a thermal contact is established because the waves emitted by the flame travel to its surroundings and transfer energy. So, as Kelsey brings her hand closer to the flame, there's an increase in temperature because the flame is transferring energy to its surroundings.